I got it, man. Good evening, and welcome to the Lompoc City Council meeting. This is Tuesday, September 6, 2016. It is 6:30 p.m. We have just re-adjourned from coming out of closed session.
There were 2 items on the closed session agenda. Both were discussed, but no reportable action was taken.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, invocation, Pastor Puntar. Please rise, remove your hats.
Mayor, City Council members, community members, this Sunday will be the 15th anniversary of 9/11, the terrorist attacks on our country. And so I would like to lift up this prayer. Oh God, our hope and our refuge, we come to you. The shock and horror of that tragic day, September 11th, 2001, have subsided, replaced now with an emptiness, a longing for an innocence lost. We come remembering those who lost their lives in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. We are mindful of the sacrifice of public servants who demonstrated the greatest love of all in laying down their lives for others. We commit their souls to your eternal care and celebrate their example. We come remembering, and we come in hope, not in ourselves, but in you. As foundations we once thought secure have been shaken, we are reminded of the illusions of security. In remembering this tragedy, we give you thanks for your presence in all our times of need. We lift other prayers to you. We pray for upcoming elections, for all the candidates and propositions. We ask for your direction in our community, our state, and our nation. We ask for your wisdom to be with this city council this night. We pray for your blessing to be upon all gathered here, and we ask for your help to be with all in our community. Honor those who seek to lead with compassion and justice and fairness. Help them to hear clearly the voices of concerns, and especially to listen for those without a voice. These things we pray to you, O God. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, City Manager's report.
Nothing to report, sir.
Okay. We're going to move on to...
I'm sorry, excuse me. I did want to, one thing I wanted to report was I will be absent from the next meeting. I've discussed and gotten my pass from the mayor on that, so Ms. Gallivan will be sitting in the chair on my place. Thank you.
We'll be in good hands. Okay, public comment. I've had requests from 3 individuals to allow them 5 minutes for public comments. So if those 3 people want to come forward for your 5 minutes, and then we will go on to the 3-minute public. And realize that we've cut back to 3 minutes, but if for some reason someone ever feels they need more time, just request it and we will go ahead and give it to you. I'm sorry, this is for consent calendar. They're right. Okay. This is a 3-minute comment on consent calendar. So if anyone has anything to say on the consent calendar, please step forward.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Item number 4 on the consent calendar, the landfill gas collection system. The council recently adopted a rate increase for trash collection, in part because the landfill gas collection system was expected to be much higher. Tonight we've learned that it's about $1,043,000, or slightly over the original estimate. Second, I noticed that the change order, which is generally 10%, on this one is 14%. I'm hoping one of you will ask that question. And finally, fairly straightforward system with a cost of $175,000 to oversee and inspect the project seems a bit excessive. No bids were provided, and perhaps that work could be done by our engineering staff with specialized assistance from one of the consulting engineers as needed. Remember, these are ratepayer funds. We're all responsible for them. Second, item 5, the purchase of trash collection trucks. Nationwide, the solid waste industry has converted their fleets to compressed natural gas, which reduces greenhouse gas emissions by up to 40% and fuel costs by 20 to 40%, depending on the price of diesel fuel. In fact, one of the reasons the city worked with the school district on short notice to obtain the state grant for the CNG fueling station was for future city vehicle use. In budget year 2014, the city spent over $700,000 on vehicle fuel and repair for solid waste vehicles, according to city records. At about $2 a gallon equivalent, CNG fuel compared to today's cost of diesel at $2.50 would be about a 20% savings. Diesel has hung more in the $4 range over the recent past, which would be a 50% savings. The decision you make today sets fuel costs for the next 18 to 20 years, as outlined in the staff report. By rejecting all bids, you will save hundreds of thousands of dollars in fuel costs during the life of the trucks and reduce future collection rate increases. Lower fuel cost, much lower emissions, reduced maintenance cost will save the money as CNG trucks have for Marburg, Waste Management, BFI, and virtually every other major waste hauler nationwide. And this trend began clear back in 2012, so we're at the very back end of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing no one rise, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to the council. The consent calendar is generally, is composed of things that are normally considered routine in nature, and they will be passed by one motion unless a council chooses to pull an item. Does any council member choose to pull an item? Councilmember Starbuck.
Yeah, I would like to pull item 6. I had to recuse from the discussion. I will not be able to vote on it, so if it could be pulled and set for a separate vote, please.
Okay, 6 will be a separate vote. Councilmember Mosby.
6 as well, but I had maybe if I would answer the question on 5 on why we weren't doing CNG trash trucks.
Is anyone here from Public Works going to answer that?
Yeah, I don't know if you're able to respond to that, Mr. McCune. I was going to raise the issue that if you're just comparing fuel costs, you're not doing the entire comparison because there's an efficiency cost of mileage with one fuel type versus another. But
yes, that's what I was going to say too. I'm not an expert on the fleet. We would have to come back to you with some more information if you wanted us to look at that. But we have asked that question in the past, and our fleet manager has recommended that this is the unit that we would like to go with based on the total cost of the package, not just the fuel cost.
in other words, the miles per gallon you get off of CNG are not as enhanced, it's not as efficient as what you get with diesel.
Does APCD have any credits for that, for the swap over? 'Cause I know there's stuff for big heavy tractors and such. I mean, there's a significant amount of money that's out there potentially for this. I know Marburg has switched majority of theirs down in Santa Barbara. I think all of them down to CNG in Santa Barbara. And so there are other people doing it. I don't know if you've looked into that.
I'm not familiar with any grant programs out there for switching to CNG.
Yeah, I don't know, you might look into it there, because I know there was some significant amount of tonnage of pollutants that you're reducing that can potentially justify, maybe
Yeah, I know 10 years ago, there were grants out. That's in fact how the Clean Air Express service got started, was APCD grants. But we're now in a attainment area in Santa Barbara County, so it seems like the grant funds have gone away, although.
I believe they still have the Carl Mueller, I mean, we're paying
Yeah, we'd
ships
be
to
happy,
slow.
we're always looking for more
Yeah.
funds, though. We'd be
Because they're
happy to
paying
look into
ships to
that.
slow down in the channel for the whales and for less production out there, so they're paying significant, $2,500 a trip.
Right.
Type of deal. So I mean, there are some potentials, and is there a rush that it done this time, and maybe we can hold off one meeting? Maybe to investigate?
I don't know that one meeting is going to make a difference. I know that the staff report noted that the purchase of the vehicles is already a few years behind due to some staff turnover, but
So you just want us bring this back to the next meeting. In the meantime, check to see whether there's any APCD grants currently available.
Yeah, if there's,
for
$100,000 or $200,000 it might offset what you're feeling.
Right.
I mean, if you're feeling that there's a lot more of the CNG, way in the hole.
you got to remember, there's a significant infrastructure that we would need to, for instance, if you're going to do CNG, there's only one fueling facility in town. That's not a great system to rely on. You'd want to have a backup system, that's $1 million system to install it at a
No, well,
facility
yeah,
in
we wouldn't
town.
want to go necessarily that route.
So, I mean, that's a major
Have you looked into
change in where-
availability
yeah.
at that station? It seems like it's pretty empty most of the time. I remember
I'm
the
saying
discussion a
that
long time ago, so
That facility is underutilized, I believe, but I don't know that I want to be relying on it as the sole fueling source in town. Right now, we have multiple fueling sources, so.
We can examine that, but just to be sure, make sure we're doing, your request is to hold off on this for what meeting? In the meantime, we'll check and see if there is availability of clean air grants.
yes, that's just,
Okay, is that still your request to
if that's a doable, yeah, I get,
hold it for another meeting?
yes.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
Is there consensus on the council to hold this off till?
Okay. Do I have a third?
Yeah, I'll give you a third.
Okay, so we're going to bring back item number 4 at the next meeting. So if there's nothing else, Councilmember
Number
Moses?
5.
Oh, 5. Okay, 5, okay. Okay, 5. Mr. Mosby, do you have anything else?
No, it's a lot of vouchers. I don't know if you guys all had a chance to read through. There was some interesting, I learned in one of the vouchers, if I may, that we are actually doing a sharing at Surf station out here, Surf train station. I think it was $29,000. That's comes in from transit funds out here, but there's a couple other, I mean, there's a lot of vouchers to read through, but no, nothing else, except for number 6.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion on 1 through 4?
I'll move 1, 2, 4.
I'll
Okay.
second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's vote. That passes 5-0. Okay, 5 is held over to the next meeting. Councilmember Mosby will abstain from item number 6. Or Councilmember Starbuck will abstain from number 6, yeah. Okay, can I have a motion for item number 6?
I'll move number 6.
I just wanted to ask some questions, engage in some discussion with 6. If I could with it.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
In reading through item 6, and I had made this comment last time that I felt if we were to do this and suspend the water retrofit fee, if we're going to do it to Old Town,
Mr. Mayor, if I may interrupt, because we're now going to discuss this item, Councilman Starbucks need to leave the dais.
Okay.
you need to exercise. I do. If we were to do this forward, we could pass this off as for economic stimulation. Granted, Old Town needs it, but there's a lot of other towns, parts of the town that need it. And if there's a chance of bringing this back to reference the rest of the community as well.
Yeah, I thought we thought favorably about how we'd like to bring this back. What I'd like to bring it back is for the citywide component is with the comprehensive replacement program, if you will. Whereas for right now, we don't have that in place. And we would prefer that you went ahead and took action on this as is presented for right now. We we agree with your observations that there should be a citywide approach to this, and we will be bringing it back, but we want to bring it back with the program comprehensively worked through and ready for presentation to you.
In the other aspect that here I was going to mention was the fiscal impact. And that fiscal impact identifies that you'd have a $9,300 to Solvang Brewery. But I guess my question is, are there any other businesses that have contacted the city that might be part of this fiscal impact in the Old Town commercial area?
Not part of the 9,300. There is another discussion of a possible use of another building is that within the downtown footprint, but they aren't at the point of project delivery and pulling permits and the like yet. So right now, there's somebody out there doing due diligence, looking.
And the reason why I bring this up is because the fiscal impact, if we're going to identify, I think potentially that's a lot greater than we just completely represent here. It could be, the full maximum build-out potential of that area.
Based upon known current potential, the $9,000 and change number is the correct number based upon what's known. You're correct. There could be more if other qualifying businesses and the qualifying locations were to come forward. But right now, we've just heard a contact and an interest on one.
And again, my question would be, is there something we want to put a limit on this? Or, I mean, as a classic example, one time there was a 10-story Holiday Inn that was going to be built in Old Town. And what would have been this retrofit impact if it had been in Old Town? It would have been, in the thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars of a fiscal impact.
If you wish to add on a fiscal cap, staff wouldn't be opposed to that right now. If my anticipation is we're going to have the comprehensive program back to you before we would have anybody to the point of being assessed those charges. But if in the meantime, as a safety net, if you will, to make sure we suddenly don't have a run on the bank or something like that, we'd be just fine with a dollar cap being put on.
If I may, if we put a dollar cap, we'll need to come back with another, this will have to be a first reading to add the dollar cap, then we'd have to come back with a second reading.
And I would just like to add that the Solvang Brewery is getting fairly close to getting its certificate of occupancy, and doing that would adversely affect that business.
I'll suspend that comment. You're going to bring another document back that of a full comprehensive analysis.
Okay, so I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? This is on item number 6. Okay, let's vote. That passes 4-0 and 1 abstention. Okay, we need to get Councilman Starbuck back in. Here it comes. Okay, we're going to move on to staff presentations. Planning Manager Lucille Breeze.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This evening, we're bringing you an kind of out-of-sequence report on the Motorsports Park. We've had some recent announcement or information that we wanted to present to you. As you will note, you have a copy of the PowerPoint, and there are some available for the members of the public. On August 16th, we did have an update from the FAA, a conference call regarding their direction to us that the proposed skydive landing area must conform with their circular, and that they encouraged us to obtain an agreement between the foundation and the Skydive Santa Barbara prior to proceeding with any NEPA documentation. The NEPA documentation is necessary for us to move forward with the ALP, airport layout plan that we need. The staff has requested from the FAA written clarification of this determination, since that conference call was just a verbal direction. Additionally, last week, staff had a conference call with our state's park grant representative, and their, oops, sorry, too far. The conference call, the state advised us that they are holding up our request for a time extension, and that request will be held until the FAA requirement is clarified. We did speak with the representative again today, and he reiterated that they're holding that. However, they are not holding our request for reimbursement. They are processing it, and so we're anticipating, they've asked a few questions, and we're anticipating that we will be providing them with the information that they've asked for. So we're hopeful that that reimbursement, which was submitted in July, will be processed in a timely manner, and we'll be receiving funds back. As noted, this is a status of the foundation funding that has been provided to date. And our next steps in September, we are currently working on the response to comments and the preparation of the final EIR. Again, we're awaiting clarification from the FAA regarding the requirement of the landing area agreement and awaiting determination from the state parks regarding our time extension. And Mr. Weimiller has information.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to add on to the report on the Motorsports Park project and bring about some clarification of where we are. First of all, as you can see depicted up here, I just wanted to point out the city and city staff, as we do our portion of trying to drive this project forward, we really have 4 different entities we're having to deal with. The foundation, the Motorsports Park Committee, obviously, Skydive Santa Barbara, the Federal Aviation Administration, State Parks Grant Group. Well, starting off with the Federal Aviation Administration, I want to point out right now they have some requirements. And their requirements are to have an update to the airport master plan. And they've said that the FAA will not approve the airport master plan unless the operator of Skydive Santa Barbara is satisfied with whatever landing area they have, whether existing or new. And also that our NEPA cannot be completed without that airport master plan being approved. I would point out that the city and city staff have no authority over the FAA and cannot force them to change their position. So cities and city staff are doing their best efforts to deliver the project, including that has to do with the FAA. But right now, that's where we stand. That's our position with them. Next, talking about Skydive Santa Barbara. Skydive Santa Barbara has expressed that they are satisfied with their current landing area. They have also expressed that they'd be open to considering other landing area, but so far they have not been satisfied with the landing areas proposed in the Motorsports Park design, and they have not been satisfied with alternate landing areas that have been proposed by the Motorsports Park or by city staff. For them, it seems to be a pretty critical business issue to have their current landing area or an area that's going to be comparable for them to continue on and to conduct business as they've been doing. We'd add again, city and city staff, while been working and meeting and working constructively with both the FAA and with Skydive Santa Barbara, we have no authority to force Skydive Santa Barbara to change their landing area, unless, of course, the FAA removes its satisfied requirement and requires only that the city provide an adequate landing area, that is, a landing area that complies with the FAA's documents that describe what a landing area has to look at like for the different levels of performance that's being done by parachutists. In total, in summary, that has to be about 338,000 square feet that has at least a 40-foot setback from obstructions. So then is our dealings with the state parks and the grant funders within that. They've become concerned, as Ms. Breeze reported, over the FAA requirements. They recognize the city has no authority to overcome those requirements and deliver the project. They are now indicating they will not support a time extension beyond the December 31st date that currently exists for reimbursing the city's costs for environmental work. I'd point out once again, the city and the city staff have no authority over state parks and cannot force them to change their position. For the fourth group, with the foundation and the Motorsports Park Committee, they have exclusive control over design of the motorsports park itself. They have not been able to reach an agreement with Skydive Santa Barbara on an alternate landing area. And they have not proposed an alternate design to their park that leaves the existing landing area in place. I'd point out again, the city and the city staff have no authority over the foundation, cannot force them to change their design. In addition, we'd observe that even if they were willing and able to change their design, too much of a design change would invalidate the current EIR process. We're going through an EIR process based on the design that has to be substantively like was submitted for review. So I bring this about. This isn't to point out any good guys or bad guys. I believe everybody's working in their best interests and trying to protect whoever their constituencies are that they have to protect. But in the end, I become concerned over increasing suggestions. Number one, that city or city staff have something else that they might be able to do to deliver the project. Where we are right now, we're stuck in a position with unable to move forward unless there's some give somewhere in one or more of these entities that we're dealing with. If all four entities stay firm on the positions that they're currently holding with us, I can't see the path forward to have the project delivered. So I just wanted to clarify and clear that up. I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding in that regard whatsoever, that this is the relationship. We continue to work towards solutions and have been working towards solutions. Ultimately, we're not in the position to be able to arm twist anyone. And for something for us to be able to deliver this eventually, something's going to have to give somewhere in one or more of those four quadrants there. That's why I wanted to add to your update. Thank you for hearing me out.
Councilmember Mosby.
Got a question for the city manager. Yes, sir. Who has authority over the skydiver?
Well, right now, the FAA has the controlling authority over them in that we, the city, have submitted an existing airport master plan that calls for the skydive operation. It's called that out. And so for us to, and particularly in the question of replacing the aviation activity of Skydive Santa Barbara with a non-aviation activity of the motorsports park, that would be the FAA that has that.
And I guess my question is,
And the ownership of Skydive Santa Barbara has the control.
but because the agreement to operate on the lower bench was authorized by
That was granted by the city.
the city. And I have the two-sentence agreement that he has here, and the last sentence says, "This use is at the sole discretion of the airport and may be revoked at any time."
Right.
So who is the airport in that?
That would be the city and now though that's been included, that operation has been included in the airport master plan, the FAA is definitely the authority that we would need to have soften or change or adjust their position for us to then be able to invoke the authority that I think you're referring to, and that is our ability to say, this location is no longer available. What you have right now is no longer available as a landing area, and would any of these others, which of these other areas would work best for you that meet the FAA requirements and have those available?
It seems to me, I mean, is there any compensation for using the lower bench area by the skydiver?
Not directly. Currently, our only compensating agreement with Skydive Santa Barbara is the land lease on the hangar.
Okay. Is there any environmental review that isolates him to a certain part of that lower bench? I mean, I did,
Not that I-
in all the documents, I didn't see any of the,
Not that I'm aware of. The only document I'm aware of that has that within the prescription is the airport master plan.
and it just seems that if, you know, everything that's been presented with the EIR and such would give some environmental documentation and give some legitimacy to an area, because right now, the agreement, that it seems it's a two-sentence agreement that the city has, and
Well, right, and so I guess that's the sort of thing that ultimately could be worked out, perhaps either through an environmental process, a regulatory environmental process, or ultimately through litigation. As we stand right now, what we're being told from the FAA, to be able to deliver the motorsports project, we're going to have to redo the airport master plan. They're only going to approve that if there is, when the revised plan is complete, that there is a landing area that meets the satisfaction of Skydive Santa Barbara's operator. And so that's where we, the city, don't have any control over being able to go and unilaterally dictate where that landing area is going to be.
and if that came through the documentation and new ALP, it would be, because the last meeting, I believe it was, the comment came forward that from one of the airport commissioners that there's kind of an open-ended on the landing zone. There's some there, and there's some actually still landing still out in the river on the soft sand, which I guess that's, city doesn't own that property, right?
Right, we don't want to weigh in, we don't own it, don't want to own it, right?
So it's kind of like with the documentation going forward here would give, you know, I imagine there would be a hard document and a rental agreement with a skydiver in that area, more than the two-sentence agreement that,
I imagine we have to look at that because there are advantages and disadvantages to creating a more formalized document to both the city and to Skydive Santa Barbara. So I imagine there are both, and we'd probably want to weigh that through on its merits.
thank you.
Either for you or Lucille Breeze, or Ms. Breeze. So the extension time limit has not been granted yet. We're still set at December 31st of this year, or not the time extension.
The time extension on the grant has not been extended, and we are still at December 31st.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I noticed on the status of the foundation funding, it ends in July. Have we received the August payment of $12,666?
No, the August payment is delinquent at this point. It would have been due and payable has to be paid by the end of the month, which was August 31st. We didn't receive that before or on August 31st, and as of today, the payment is still delinquent.
Have we had any communication from them regarding the payment?
I haven't, no.
Okay. According to the MOU that we both signed, we have the option of ceasing work until that's completed, is that right? Having staff cease?
That is, I'm going to refer the details of the MOU to the city attorney, but yes.
That's true, okay. So, Mr. City Attorney, how do we, I don't want to get into another situation where we had with LHCDC where we continually have delinquency.
You know,
So,
Mr. Mayor, you know, stop the LHCDC. This is not LHCDC. This is nowhere close to
you
that.
can turn your light on and I'll call on you when it's appropriate, thank you. Okay, so let's say I do not want to get into a situation where we have delinquencies after delinquencies. So, at this point, is it appropriate that, could I make a motion to direct staff to stop work until we receive payment?
Because this item is a presentation matter, what you would need to do is have that brought back to the next council meeting.
Okay. So I'd like to have that brought back at the next council meeting. And do I need two other people to bring it back? Mr. Attorney?
I heard,
Yeah, I need two. Okay, so I have one person to bring it back for discussion at the next council meeting. Do I have a second or a third? Okay, that's interesting. So I guess we are not concerned about that. That is fine then. Okay. Anything else for the presentation?
Just for the record, the non-payment also is accruing annual interest of 4.5% that's compounded daily.
Right. And I'm waiting for that check, too. Okay, thank you. Okay. Move on to another staff presentation, also by Lucille Breeze. This is on zoning setbacks. Councilmember Starbuck.
Ms. Breeze, was the person that this is about informed? The picture of his house is here and his address, and he's not. I saw it, just coincidentally ran into him today and had no knowledge of this at all.
No, he was not specifically advised. This was just brought back at the request of Councilmember Holmdahl. The issue of setbacks and right-of-ways and private property.
Well, this was done through the whole council last meeting about this. Yes, you did. I guess my question is, could we postpone this until the citizen that owns this property that we're going to discuss is present? He was not notified of this.
That's correct, at the direction of the council, if you'd like to wait.
Yeah, my apologies. I should have thought to read
Make a
through and I
motion.
didn't, so.
No, I'd like to move that we go ahead and reschedule the zoning setback right away and private property for the next meeting in September.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
We have a third?
I'll third it.
Okay. Okay, that brings us to oral communication. Again, we have, I believe, 3 people that have requested 5 minutes, so if those 3 people would step forward, and then we'll go on to the 3-minute oral communication.
Mayor, council, I've been working pretty hard trying to find out just what we could do about the incident that happened to me. And the council really controls what goes on here, and with the meetings and everything, and what we do in our city is what I found out. And what I'm asking is for the council to listen and to maybe look into the incident that happened with these 2 people come in to literally rob my store, and that's what my wife had called in, that we were being robbed, to the police department. But I'd like you to look into it a little bit and see what's going on, because there was a lot more than everybody realizes. This was a setup. It had nothing to do with the business deal. It was a total setup to come in there and try to beat me to death and get a toolbox, is what it was about, that they were told not to get by the city. They were at the police department for quite some time just before they come to my shop. The police did not escort them down there, which they should have done, knowing there was going to be trouble, that they said there was going to be trouble, and there was an order taken out to call keep the peace. They should have been there with them. This was a setup with the police department, the city, and when I say the city, I say Mr. Archer, and I later found out that your head of the department for your utilities that I got, Mr. Larry Bean, was notified about some of it when he was yelling and screaming at me one day over a real small thing when I was up back at his office. It was quite ridiculous, but I've tried to do everything professional and tried to show that we can do that. And I'm still going to continue doing that. But I would like the council to dig into what really happened. I don't think it's happened yet, and by law and by everything, to do this right, that's what your job is to do, is to find out if somebody comes and complains of this. You should look into it and see what's going on. And they came down there with the intent to, I believe, kill me. Nobody hits somebody in the head twice with a 3-foot-long crowbar and not thinking it's not going to kill them. They've ruined my wife and I's life by more than most of you'll ever know. There's a lot of things that I think should be done about it, and it has to be done legally through your office and things now. The police department treated me like a piece of scum. When I went into their jail, the jailer in there, whatever he is, they say they don't have a jailer, but it's just a holding thing there, and he treated me so bad it was ridiculous, yelling and screaming at me, swearing, using the F word, telling me that I better bail myself out. A lot of different things went on. It was terrible. I mean, this is supposed to be a nice, quiet town. I've done a lot of work with the police department prior to all of this happening. I used to service their motorcycles in the shop when they had the Harleys. We had a pretty good work relationship and everything, I thought. And because this guy works for the city, they're going to let him come in and beat people to death and get away with it. I think you guys need to look into it a little bit. I think you need to see what's going on. And when I say that they've ruined my life, they have. You know, I'm 74 years old now, and I thought it would be kind of a nice thing to retire and get out and go travel a little bit. I don't think that's even going to happen, believe it or not. I hope that you'll do something about it. And I hope you'll get back with me about it. But you guys do have some authority, the city council, to get into this and look at it and see what's going on. And if you need any information from me, I have all of it. I have book after book after book that of all the details from the time this very first started until now. And I think that, you know, it'd be nice if you guys could work on it. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of things going on, but this is kind of really important to have somebody that's within your police department overlook something this big. And when your police chief came to talk to me, he made me feel like a second-class citizen. At the end of his conversation, he said, "This looks like a business deal gone bad." Can you believe that? Me beat to death almost with blood everywhere, and my poor wife, you know, had to see it all. She was busy calling the police at the very beginning of it, but she's seen the rest of it. And I hope you guys will look into it and see what you can do about it. This is a small town and we should do something, and I hope you get back to me. I'd really appreciate it. So I'll leave it in your hands for now and see what you come up with on it and go from there. But I'll let you know I'm not going to drop it. So.
Okay, thank you. Captain Marinari, you may not have the answer to this, but has this case, I think we did the investigation, has the case been turned over to the district attorney's office?
Yes, it has, and was rejected.
Okay, so we did our investigation. We turned it over to the district attorney's office. They did an investigation?
They reviewed the case and the investigation.
Okay, why don't you speak into the mic? Ray.
They did not do an investigation.
Okay.
Nobody came to my shop and
Okay.
blood splatter, nothing.
Mr. Leslie,
Smile on his face when somebody got beat to death.
Mr. Leslie, I gave,
It's not a smile, Mr. Leslie.
okay, Mr. Leslie, I gave you 5 minutes. I'm trying to get, you said you wanted me to get some information for you. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Okay, so say what you said all over. It asked you if there was an investigation. What?
There was an investigation, a report was prepared, it was submitted to the district attorney reviewed it and rejected the case.
Okay, thank you.
Just to point out, it's the district attorney's determination of to whether to prosecute or not. Once we turned the case over, it's out of the police department's hands.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, one more 5 minutes. And when you come up, remember to please state your name as you come to the microphone.
Good evening, Councilman, and Mayor, and community members. My name is Mark Ashmala. I lived here in Lompoc for 13 years now. And I have been a small business owner and Chamber of Commerce member at one point, and currently a social worker in which I'm currently heavily involved in our homeless outreach. I work closely with the city, county, and nonprofit organizations that are working daily with our homeless and houseless community members. Our efforts are producing progress with positive results. I have personally, over the last 5 years, helped dozens of our community homeless get to housing. I could spend most of my time this evening going over the pitfalls and some of the solutions I see very viable. I'd like to propose several programs to the City Council at some point that fill in the pieces of a complex puzzle. Programs such as safe parking, tiny houses, organized feedings, as we already have, but more of them. Board and cares, beautification workforce programs, and ultimately a 6-bed wet facility in which 3 of beds are dedicated to those trying to sober up before they enter a detox or before they enter the bridge house, and a need for a safe environment to do so, and the 3 other beds dedicated to those in our community having mental crisis, in which they can be cleared by the ER and then go to this facility when they are awaiting a bed at a psychiatric facility. Right now, this is a major problem for our ER, as they find themselves spending valuable time and resources basically just sitting on top of someone until they are sent to a psychiatric facility. I would like to spend the rest of my time telling about introducing the City Council this nonprofit that I work with, and closely looking at establishing a compassion center within the city of Lompoc. The Compassion Center is our mission is Medicinal Greens is a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Medical Greens' mission is devoted to provide our members with a variety of quality, holistic solutions dedicated to achieving optimal health by gaining a proper balance in life through education and safe access to quality medication and therapy. It is our intent of Medical Greens to operate legal, ethical, and compliant medical marijuana business in Lompoc. We would like for the community to improve and develop services for veterans, mental health, and education. We are, when approved and operating closely with the city officers and employees, we conservatively estimate additional city funds to exceed $400,000 annually. I am hoping tonight to start a process in which we can work towards capturing community taxes dollars that are being spent outside of our community. Currently, as we speak, community members are either traveling to Santa Barbara or using a Santa Maria-based delivery service to purchase their medications. This is a considerable amount of money that is not being kept here in our community, forcing some community members to have to get their legal medications illegally. This is putting them in harm's way and supporting our black market. A wise man asked me what about control? I think control comes from education, communication, and a dedication to the community safety. We would like to offer our assistance in any aspect of the process where we can supply city officials and employees with other cities' laws and legislation or other information requested to make this most informative decision. I ask that you take the time to look over our proposal and consider Medicinal Greens' approach to provide a service for our diagnosed members of our community. I approach you now because I wish to distinguish us from what I believe in November will be a larger crowd than this here, as we will probably have lawyers from Los Angeles and investors from outside counties and communities coming to start what we think is going to be a dispensary or recreational dispensaries, as it will be passed in November or is projected to. Those are like I said, it should flood in November. I do not wish to be a part of that. I do not wish to be standing in the back and saying, remember me, I wanted to start the Compassion Center, and I wish that the funds would then go back to our community and the outreach that I do with our homeless and all the different facilities I would like to, and different projects that I would like to get started. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Mark, pronounce your last name for me again.
Ashamala.
Ashamala, okay. City Manager, if Mr. Ashamala wanted to speak to someone in City Hall about this, is there a certain individual he should contact?
Yeah, I'd direct him.
To me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, about what aspect of it, I should
just
say?
more information on his Compassion Center. Well, obviously.
Well, it really would have to do with what his questions were. If he has specifics about building and building permits and the like, we send him one direction. If it has to do with the zoning and whether the uses would be permissible and the like, we send him a different direction. So it really depends upon the question.
No promises. Contact me sometime and we'll.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Hold on a second.
No, not a question for Mr. Ashamal. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, but
It's okay.
City Attorney and City Manager, we passed an ordinance several months back that we didn't need to pass because California never enacted the threat by 1 March or whatever. Does that have any bearing on this?
Not really. That was to deal with the fact that the state first had a deadline, we had to do something, or we'd lose total local control. And we passed something to retain that local control. And the local control was over dispensaries and medicinal marijuana outfits. So it wasn't directly related toward this situation, and I'm not really sure what this situation is, but if it's dealing with medical marijuana, the city does have current rules that deal with medical marijuana.
So with the state's failure to enact anything, we could rescind our resolution and everything would go back to what it was with one less resolution on the books then.
We don't need to do, all we did was make sure that the previous law that we had was going to still be effective. That's all we did.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
John, did you want 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, so this is anyone, oral communication on any item for 3 minutes. Mary, come forward. Oh, wait. Come forward, pronounce, or give us your name and come forward to the microphone.
I'm Mary Saladino, a citizen of Lompoc, and listening to this conversation, it's all brand new to me, but it seems to me we have a champion center that takes care of issues regarding addictions and medical marijuana needs and whatever. How does that fit in
Okay.
to our community?
It really does, okay, yeah, that was a comment, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Hello, City Council. It was interesting tonight when we talked about the motorsports project, because we had the city manager who really, I thought, did a really good job of laying out sort of how this thing is interdependent. And as a betting man, I would look at that and say, wow, that I don't even know if that has a 50-50 shot of going through, given all those contingencies. And it's disappointing because this is an issue of more enabling. You guys cannot seem to hold the Motorsports Foundation responsible for even a simple delivery of money that they promised. And I'm wondering, why is that? I mean, because no bank would do that. And any responsible organization would do that. But for some reason, it's a mystery why the city, time after time after time, moves the milestones, changes the agreement, and you don't even force them, you won't even come to a conclusion to hold them responsible to make a payment. It seems like a farce to me, and it's sad because it's same repeated behavior that you've seen for years. So what does it say about the bigger project? With all these contingencies and a partner in the Motorsports Foundation that doesn't deliver on their promises, what does it say about your lack of responsibility in enforcing an agreement that exists per the MOU? That's my question. I don't understand it.
Okay. Please remember to state your name when you come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Carol Redhead. I live in Lompoc. I too am confused about the process here. It was interesting also, the presentation, but on August 16th, you had a council meeting that I watched online, and I saw that you put the onus of the responsibility of the failure or going ahead with the project with Skydive Santa Barbara, when in fact, the Airport Commission found almost everything wrong with the draft EIR. The facts are made up. The map of where they want to put the stadium and the crowd is actually in the Zone 5, Safety Zone 5 of the airport, which actually states no stadium and no crowds. How could you possibly put the onus on Skydive Santa Barbara when it's the Airport Commission's findings? There's 9 findings that were completely wrong of the traffic control, safety, the lights, the noise for the aircraft coming and going, the pilot's confusion about how to land, where to land, you know, all this stuff going on. Skydiver landing on top of, now if it had gone through, you would have all this traffic, vans and stuff portable toilets, because there are no real toilets in the project, crash landing on these vehicles that don't belong in a safety zone, plus I just have a hard time believing that you switched over to putting the onus on Skydive Santa Barbara when it should be the EIR is completely wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Terry Hammonds, Lompoc. Good evening, Council. Well, Council, you pretty much solidified what we're going to do now. We're going to make this project as hard as it can be. You think that we can't? We can. We've reached out to every agency. We're going to make this as difficult for the foundation as we can be. We're going to make it expensive, and if you want to continue on like this, that's fine. But you are enabling almost a distrust in this city to make us believe that you are looking out for all of our welfare. You're not. So here we are. You've shown us what you're going to do. You're going to stop. You're actually just going to let them not pay, and that's going to be it. Now, would you do that for anybody else? Well, we would think so now, but really, when you think about government, it really is not a representative system. It's more of a self-interest system, and you've proven that tonight.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Thomas Brandenburg, and I provide a service that God told me to do here, and it's getting where it's becoming where I can almost not afford it. I'm doing between 13 and 15 rides. I give people rides that don't have any money, say the bridge house, that I wanted the solution to getting them across the bridge. On Saturday mornings when there's no buses, I'm doing as many as 3 trips across the bridge. The new radiation place, the cancer, I take people there. I get up at 6 in the morning, and just basically, I'm starting to run out of money, and I want to continue this ministry to help people. And so I come to talk. I'm not very good at this. But I would love some other people, and even with the store problem, with them taking the cart, I told a couple of stores, just put up, I'll give them a ride for free, don't take the cart. So I'd like to continue this ministry and do what God told me to do. And if I could get some help, it would be really good.
Okay, hold on a second. Give me a phone number that people can reach you at.
Area code 305-397-9398.
Okay, so that's area code 305, not 805.
Yes.
305-397-9398.
Yes.
So what Thomas Brandenburg does, out of his own money, he bought a van, and he transports homeless people to doctor's appointments, to job interviews, to the library. As you said, you pick up people to go to doctor's appointments. So what you're not asking anything from the city right now. What you're asking is if someone can buy you a gas card for $20 at Vons or something like that, and get you some help with the gasoline and anything else.
Basically, that's my biggest thing right now. I'm taking between 13 and 15 rides every day.
Okay.
And most of them to the hospital and doctor's appointments, counseling sessions. I'm working with at least 10 women that have gotten their kids back, and they need rides to their counseling sessions, say the houses, the clean and sober houses and everything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to repeat the number. His name is Thomas Brandenburg. His phone number is 305-397-9398. And any help you can give him with a gasoline card, a $20 bill, something like that. And Reverend Brandenburg, I want to thank you for what you do for our community. Thank you very much. Okay, next, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name's Ann Rouget. I'm a longtime resident of Lompoc, past city council member, and I'm ashamed of most of you people up here on the council. I commend Mayor Lingle and Councilmember Holmdahl for trying to stop this project, the Motorsports Park project, before we continue it on. There are too many loose ends. You're trying to threaten Skydive Santa Barbara with losing his lease. That's not where it's at. It's financial. You're not taking care of the city or us. The taxpayers, we're paying your salaries, little ones you have, I know, but you're paying us. You owe us at least time to go through this again. And I was very disappointed that one of you, out of the three, which was one of my big ideas when I was on council, that if you wanted to put something on the agenda, you had to have 2 other votes. And I think one of you should have spoken up, and I would request that it be on the agenda again, because the writing was right here on the wall for you. You're heading down disaster for this city. And a question I have, and I've asked it over and over, if when this project happens to get built, God forbid, and the committee, foundation, dumps it on the city, how is the city going to pay for it? You can't even pay for to keep the parks up. How the heck are you going to do it? You're heading for a bankruptcy, you're heading for a huge lawsuit, and you've got to stop this project before it gets any farther. The writing's there. It's a conundrum right now with the FAA, and the FAA is going to say, stop. You can't extend it past December 31st. And, I mean, how dumb are you up there, people, men?
Okay. So, again, come up, state your name. And no disrespect to Ms. Roger, but let's keep respectful. Okay, no disrespect to you, okay. Be real respectful in your comments. I'm sorry.
My name is Myron Haven, and I'm amazed actually at all the different comments and how you guys really respond pretty well. So I would congratulate you on that. Except I thought the response you made to the lack of payment from $12,000, that's not good business practice. But that's not really why I wanted to talk to you. See my hands? They're all stained black from picking walnuts over the parkways. Last weekend, I was a member of the California Rare Fruit Growers Association, and they talked about edible landscapes, planting plants that you can eat. And I was looking around at the city today, and there's nothing out there to eat. I didn't see any orange trees or lemon trees or fruit trees, nothing you could eat. And I'm serious. When I was at the Rotary meeting and they had someone from the high school, they told me that over half of the people in the now this is a couple of years ago, over half of the people in the Lompoc athletic department at Lompoc High School had what they call food insecurity. In other words, they weren't sure where their next meeting was coming from. I really would like you to, maybe not tonight respond, but have someone look at what trees are being planted or what landscape are being planted, and take a more serious look at trying to encourage people to have what I call edible landscape. That was my big thing for tonight. And I really think that's important. I've got a minute left, so I will tell you about my wife's vacuum cleaner. We just got her. I'm trying to keep my wife happy. It's a little Rhomba vacuum cleaner, and it goes into the charge station. We just got it from Costco. You plug it in, and it goes out, and it goes around and picks up all the dirt, and then it comes back and it needs to be recharged again. That's how I think of Motorsports Park. They go to a city council meeting and it needs to get all charged up. You press the clean button and it goes around and there's an awful lot of dirt it picks up. And then it comes back and says, I gotta get charged again. And that's what you did tonight, $12,000. You gotta keep charging it. That's what happens every city council meeting. It's like my little Ramba vacuum cleaner. It's only this high. I thought I'd add some humor.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Cute.
Mayor, council members, my name is Sue Copeland, and many of you saw over the summer at the Old Town Market, I was out there doing a survey. The survey initially started as a high school project, and it was we asked residents at the Old Town Market to respond to 19 questions about how they see and what they want for Lompoc Valley. Over 500 people responded, indicating their views in a range from strongly agreed to strongly disagreed on a variety of statements. This large sample size makes the results statistically relevant to fairly represent the opinions of our community. Our first question, I'm convinced that Lompoc must grow to significantly improve our economic future. As you can see, very strongly that our community believes that Lompoc needs to grow. I would like to see more business in Lompoc overwhelmingly. I would like to see high-paying jobs located in Lompoc overwhelmingly. People are agreeing with that. With 47% of our respondents earning less than $50,000 and 60% of the households of 3 or more, let me get to that slide. Okay. It is obvious that Lompoc needs to pursue economic growth for the benefit of its citizens. This was substantiated by all the statements regarding growth, increased jobs, education, tourism, recreation, and entertainment opportunities. They all show that the residents overwhelmingly want Lompoc to grow, and the results also clearly show that the California Space Center plan by Eva Blaisdell should be pursued as an avenue to improve our economy by helping Lompoc become recognized as a premier place for rocket launches and relevant business and education. There were several statements that received ambiguous responses, including that Lompoc is business-friendly and that Lompoc has a positive image in the media. And several showed that the citizens have not participated actively in government decisions. However, there is an increased desire to participate in open meetings with the City Council and the CSC to address the Space Center. The survey asked if the community would take their opinions to the polls, and it is apparent that the public is in favor of Eva Blaisdell's plan, with 59% decidedly voting for the CSC and only 16.4% decidedly voting against the Space Center. This is especially important with the upcoming elections, and because active communities tend to attract investors in projects much better than when they're left to the hands of few. The main purpose of the survey was to measure if the Lompoc community was supportive of Ms. Blaisdell's vision and to convince her to return to Lompoc. The strong, favorable response in the survey is encouraging and will help Ms. Blaisdell and her partners to choose to invest in Lompoc. With over 500 people responding and the strong support, I would like to invite all of you to a lunch and launch. I have reserved Ken Adams Park on Thursday, September 15th, which is our next launch. The launch is scheduled to be between 11:30 and 11:45. So I want to invite you to bring your lunch and watch the launch with us and discuss what we can do to bring this Space Center to Lompoc. The event will take place even if the launch is postponed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Chris Woods, and I'm a citizen of Lompoc. In the latest draft of the proposed ordinance, I'm sorry, I need to start all over again. This is in reference to the shopping cart issue.
Okay, it's on the agenda. If you want to wait for that, you can. You're more than welcome to state it now, but if you want to address it when...
Which does the council prefer?
It's probably beneficial to you to address it while we're having our deliberations.
Will do.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Seeing no one rise, we're going to close oral communication. And we are going to move on to appointments. Okay, the first one is 7 appointments and appointments. Where do we have it here? Okay, first one is an appointment to the Library Commission. We have one opening, and we have one person applying. It is Mr. Ron Stassi, and Ron is a friend of mine, so I'd like to nominate Ron Stassi to our Library Commission.
I'll second.
It's been, use the microphone.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's vote. That passes 5-0. Is Mr. Stassi in the audience?
No.
Okay. The next in the appointments is to the Youth Commission. We have 2 openings, both for youth. We have 3 appointments. Before we make any motions, I believe all 3 are here. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Ms. Plummer, you want to make a statement?
Joanne Plummer, Recreation Manager and proud liaison to the Youth Commission. Yes, all 3 of your candidates are here tonight. They have all attended previous Youth Commission meetings and are very anxious to serve. I would like to share with you that since the posting of the agenda, we did receive the resignation of another youth commissioner who has moved on to attend college at Pepperdine University. So at your next meeting, you should have another appointment position available.
Okay. So, where are the 3 that we have here? Make it easy on us. If one of you would like to raise your hand and defer to our next meeting, then we'll take the other 2. Okay, what's your name? Beverly, okay. So, thank you, Beverly. So, with that, if someone would like to nominate Tyler Rainwater and Jessica, is it Street? Okay, if someone would like to make that motion.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Tyler and Jessica to our Youth Commission. And
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
There's 2 different, there's one that ends in,
yeah, okay, that's right. Okay, so one is ending in January of 17, one is in, no, they're both they're both ending January 17. Oh, at large, okay. Yeah, they're both at large, they're identical. We have both 17 here. Use your microphone.
Excuse me, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Okay,
On the
so-
agenda, one has a term ending 2017, one
Okay.
has a term ending 2018.
Okay,
That is
so-
correct.
Okay, let me, yeah, no, let's see, are you both, let's see, what year are you in school? Joanne, help us out with this very difficult decision.
To be honest, Mr. Mayor, all of the candidates are very anxious to continue to serve, so it really wouldn't matter because those applications will come back to you in January when
Okay.
or in February when they expire in January.
Okay, so if it's okay with the council, why don't we take Tyler with the at-large commission ending in 18, and Jessica with the one ending in 17, if that's okay with the council. Okay, so let's vote on that. Yeah, it's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, one of the candidates would like to address the council for just a moment, if that's okay?
Of course.
Tyler?
Hi, my name is Tyler Rainwater, and I'm 16 years old, and I really do like to join the Youth Commission because I really want to make Lompoc a really better place. I really like to make people smile, and I just want to make people happy and make the youth really happy and make it really great for everyone. I just want to do that to make it really good for everyone.
Well, thank you very much, Tyler. And I am very glad that, Beverly, you stepped forward to put it off for 2 weeks, because in reading all of your applications, all 3 of yours, it was going to be impossible for us to make a decision without making a mistake, because all 3 of you are fantastic young individuals. So I would like to thank all 3 of you for applying. And with that, let's have a vote. Oh, I'm sorry? Okay. Let's repeat this. So we've got Dwayne did. Oh, who is the second candidate? Okay, so Tyler Rainwater is the first.
Mr. Holmdel made the motion, and who made the second?
Councilmember Vega. Okay. My goodness, these are tough decisions. Wow. We got that done now. Okay, so now let's vote. And that passes, believe it or not, 5-0. Congratulations on the 2 of you, and Beverly, we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Okay. Yes.
We also have a term ending on the Beautification Commission. And it's my appointment. If there's somebody very interested in getting on that commission, the term ends 12/20/16, but and you just try it out before you start the next year. So just get a hold of me, and I'm glad to have a nominee.
Okay, let's move on to item number 8, which is reintroduction of ordinance number 1624, parentheses 16, concerning management of shopping carts.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, colleagues, and public. I'm presenting, Patrick Weimiller, representing the shopping cart ordinance item to you. Just as a brief recap, we had brought to you the shopping cart ordinance to address the issue of abandoned shopping carts out in the community. Over the course of a couple different council meetings, you received a number of comments and criticisms about that, about the construction of that in its original form. And based upon the input that you received, your instruction to us was to go back and we did a redraft of the ordinance based upon your direction. And we also held a meeting with a stakeholder meeting. We had publicized, announced that, and had participation with a number of stakeholders, both shopping cart owners and private citizens, who assembled here in this room to contribute their thoughts and feedback on the issue. So with that, we had provided to them, and now have provided here, an updated draft, a new draft. And because there was substantive enough changes to the shopping cart ordinance, we were reintroducing this as a new initial first read, as opposed to bringing it back as a second read for potential adoption at this point. So with that, we have conducted that meeting that we'd said we would hold. We are presenting to you the draft ordinance as it was redrafted at the last time it was before council, and we present it to you now in its first read form for you to consider and deliberate over. If you have any questions, naturally, I'm here to answer.
Any questions from Councilman Starbuck?
At the last reading here, Mr. Weimiller, I'd made one of my questions was, how did we bring this up? And I was told it was a council request. I know that it wasn't.
It was not a formalized, like a 3-member council request. I brought it forward based upon the requests I was getting from a couple individual council members, and my own observation that we were definitely having an issue with abandoned carts out in the community.
Okay, I just wanted to be kind of clear on that, because I wasn't sure how we got to the point where we're dictating to merchants how to run their business, because in the background it just stated, in response to concerns over abandoned shopping carts expressed by many citizens. So I'm clear, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Weimiller? Okay, let's go to the public. Anyone wish to address this item?
Once again, my name is Chris Woods. In the latest draft of the proposed ordinance, I did not read anything that would halt the removal of carts from businesses, nor a definitive plan for the removal of the abandoned carts throughout the city. After attending the public forum on the shopping cart issue and listening to all sides on the issue from the people that were there, what I came away with was that the only proposal that was not rejected by one party or another was having the businesses provide a plan by which their carts that are abandoned would be picked up and secured in the evenings. This is already the major component of the draft, this last draft that you have in front of you. While this is a good idea, it still leaves out the most important aspect of the problem, which is how the businesses are going to locate those abandoned carts. If the ordinance included a mandate that all businesses having shopping carts provide phone numbers to be called by citizens and/or city employees with the location of abandoned carts, then those phone numbers could be disseminated periodically via newspaper, city utility bills, trash talk notices, etc. That would make the retrieval of carts far more effective and give the citizens immediate recourse when they see an abandoned cart. It should be noted that it would be even more effective if citizens saw that if the carts were not removed after 1 week, there was a contact number that they could call at City Hall to register a complaint of said business. An additional method of having the abandoned carts removed is to include in the published list of contact numbers those businesses that subscribe to a cart retrieval system. And the contact information of that service, so that citizens could call that service directly if they so desired. The rationale of these suggestions is threefold. It would provide all concerned citizens a direct voice in the process, provide thousands of eyes to specify the locations of the carts, and 3, give the city an idea of businesses who are not fulfilling their commitment to retrieve those carts. I realize that all of the above does nothing to stop the removal of carts from local businesses, but it does provide a method of curtailing this community blight. In that meeting, it was not unanimous, but the majority of the people that came to that public forum, they brought pictures, they told many stories of the carts in their areas, and it is a blight.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Mayor Lingle, councilman, members of our city. I guess until just a moment ago, I wasn't really clear as to what the decision was, as to whether or not the store was going to be penalized for people that are stealing their shopping carts and parking them on my front lawn or yours. But to me, the proposal to penalize store owner by making them pay a charge for shopping carts stolen by customers is like making a woman who was raped pay for the cost of the hotel room. And I see it as the fact that the business owner, Vaughn's for example, has to see their carts hauled away, parked someplace where they're not supposed to be, not returned, and get to pay for the privilege of buying new shopping carts or going out there and retrieving them. I think that's wrong. I think that there ought to be an opposite proposal that says that the police department has more of a responsibility for rounding up these people that are stealing the carts. That's theft. I have no other explanation or suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Buck, for your information, the fine, the $1,000, potential $1,000 fine is not in this motion. That was in the original.
That was in the original?
Yeah, it is not.
They've been turned down then?
It's been taken out, so there's no, there's a $100 fine if the store owner does not present a plan, okay? That's all they have to do is present a plan to us. There is no fine if they,
So it doesn't place the monkey then on the store owner?
other than presenting a plan for retrieval. They're, for instance, Vons, they have the electronic perimeter there. They just present that plan. That is their plan. They're good. Grocery Outlet goes out and picks up their own carts on a daily basis. That's their plan. It's
They drive throughout the city picking them up?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Their carts, yeah.
Yeah, their carts. So all we're asking, this ordinance right now, the only onus on the, I'll take it some time to present it because obviously everyone hasn't read it. So the onus on the store owners right now, they'd have to present a plan to the city on how they will attempt to retrieve their carts, okay, or prevent their carts from being taken. The other onus is that they will be putting up signs in obvious places in the stores and where the carts are, stating that it is against the law to remove a cart from the premises, okay? I think that's the onus. They have to present a plan, and they have to put up signs saying it's against the law.
Okay, I just don't want to pay for the cost of that shopping cart out of
Sure.
my grocery funds.
Yeah, I understand, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? And before you come up, congratulations to you and your wife.
Thank you. Thank you. She's home dealing with number one right now. So.
Okay.
My name is Aaron Crocker. My wife Alex and I own the grocery outlet here in town. We deal with the carts. You've seen my face a lot over the last couple months here now. I did have a quick question on what we're doing tonight. Now, is that to reintroduce this ordinance and then vote on it at the next meeting? Is that how this works in 2 weeks, or does this?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to thank Patrick for hosting the workshop that we did last Thursday. We were there and attended that. I'm curious if anything that came from that workshop went into this, or if this is the same draft that we had at the workshop.
Yeah, all the comments that were provided at the workshop were provided to council.
Okay.
But the draft, is unchanged because it's it's per their request to bring back the draft that they had drafted and asked us to hold the workshop with everyone's comments. So both of those have been presented, but I didn't presume upon them to change their instruction, which was
Okay.
to bring that particular draft and the public comments that were made.
Okay, so was the workshop that we had, that was to help work on this draft? Is that was my
Yeah.
understanding when we were there,
This
right?
this is still part of the working process
Right.
of creating law.
So-
And so certainly everything is open, nothing's set in stone. There is a draft that we're working off of. But like I said, all those comments were provided with the agenda package to the city council for their
Okay, so
consideration.
if it is reintroduced, is there any changing it, or is that what will be voted on?
Yeah.
Once it's reintroduced?
There's possibilities for there to be changes suggested right now. The council can decide on if and what they want to change. If they do it, if they're relatively minor changes, then the process continued toward a second reading. If there were, like the last time, pretty substantive changes, then we restart again.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I just wanted to bring my comments from that meeting very quickly to this meeting tonight. And the draft as it stands now is not too much for us to worry about. As you said, we present a plan and we have some signs that we put up. But I wonder if that's just excess paperwork at this point anyway, when the ordinance is empty at this point. We've taken all the meat out of it, which is good. That's what we want. But is there a point anyway to have it at this point? It just seems like extra paperwork, and we just want to put a check mark next to shopping carts. I did bring the information to the meeting last time that I'm actually having trouble finding carts out there now, and I think it's because of all the attention that's out there. There are more eyes and more people talking about it. There are some people bringing our carts back now, which is nice, but there's certainly less people walking away with them. And I think that shows that when there is attention given to something, that people will respond to it. And if we were to prosecute a small number of people that steal our shopping carts and make a few examples out of them, word gets around that it is not the right thing to do, and people do it a whole lot less. Right now, nobody gets prosecuted. I would love to see a list of people that got prosecuted for shopping carts in the last year, and maybe there are, and I just haven't seen it, but I certainly don't hear about it around town. And I think if that was the focus, that it would happen a lot less. Thank you.
Mr. Crocker, real
Sure,
quickly,
yeah.
I would like to, you're right, it is diluted down and there's not a lot of teeth in it. But you also mentioned, just because there's attention there, you see a lot less shopping carts. So what this will do is, in my opinion, what this will do is will keep the attention out there. Also, the signs you will be putting out there, like, you're a very nice man, your signs are very nice right now. They're very kind and gentle.
Quirky, yeah.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean,
Right.
you know, but it'll be big, bold, it is against the law to take the cart. So we will have continuous attention to the public out there.
Right.
And then I've got a question for the city attorney. If we pass this ordinance, the city still, even though we said we can choose not to enforce the state law, with this ordinance, we could still choose to enforce the state law, is that correct? If necessary.
Enforce it in what aspect?
Well, for instance, he says, the state law says that you can confiscate the cart and fine the individual for taking the cart. I mean, the state law does have that provision in there. The police officer could cite and possibly prosecute.
And we could still do that under this ordinance, because this ordinance still makes it unlawful for
Okay.
someone to take the cart.
So it still is in there that it's not completely toothless.
But again, my concern is this is just simply making us have a plan and still not holding the people that are taking the carts accountable.
Well, it is, because it is still in there that they can be prosecuted.
But will they?
Well,
Because they haven't yet.
Well, okay, well, this is the first step in getting this done. I don't think anyone in this room can argue that we have not in the past, and actually still today, I saw still several shopping carts out there. We still have a problem with shopping carts.
Sure.
And it's like a vacant building with a broken window. If you let that one broken window there, someone's going to throw another stone, break another one. It's graffiti, and that's the only. It's a step in the right direction to get. I think it's a step in the right direction to at least address it, and you admit that since we've addressed it, there are fewer shopping carts.
I agree.
Okay, so that's all I'm asking, is that we keep attention on this issue.
I would just ask that we take the step in the direction of the individual that's taking the cart and not
Sure.
in the direction of the business.
And, you know, we can certainly direct Chief Walsh and his staff to, you remember at the last meeting I mentioned, you know, we know there's probably 10 or 15 people that actually take these carts. Probably no one in this room has ever taken a cart off there. So we know which of the people there are, people that do it. If we continually see them, I'm not saying we will prosecute, but we certainly can if we want to.
We always have been able to.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Bob, can I ask him a question?
Sure, of
sir,
course.
if you don't mind? Aaron, I feel what you're saying, okay? We threw it all on the business owners. One of the thoughts were, would you prefer to prosecute someone that was pushing a cart from your store that had no groceries in it, or would it matter? Would it make a difference at all, okay? Or just the enforcement of it, okay? Just to make send a message. I mean, your thoughts on that, okay? Someone that bought groceries from your store and they're pushing it down the street, or if it was someone that was just had it recycled and the police were able to see this, okay? I mean, there could be a couple of scenarios, or just a blanket scenario where it's just not one-sided.
Are you asking me which one I would prosecute, or how I feel about prosecuting everybody?
I'm asking you, yes, if there's a difference, you know, in how you would prefer that the police were
Sure.
to cite anyone if
Okay.
they need to, because you're right, there's no teeth in it. All it is a plan for you guys. It's a reason that code enforcement doesn't have to go do it, and the police don't have to pick up your carts. I get it.
Okay. So my feelings on that, I tend to lean more towards recyclers and homeless that may be filled with junk and things, prosecuting ahead of somebody that may have a cart full of groceries. And that I lean more towards that because the family or folks that may be pushing it full of groceries, the issue they have the cart is more than likely low income and lack of transportation, and that's a whole different issue than pushing a shopping cart full of cans down to the recycling.
Because I also feel that this ordinance doesn't address anything like that. I don't think there's going to be any enforcement on this. I think it's just a way of moving forward.
I agree. I think it's a check mark
And a way
next
of
to that.
controlling it somewhat, but
But is it really going to affect, is it really going to make less carts disappear from our parking lot? Once this has been passed and we put a check mark next to shopping carts, our shopping cart's still gonna walk away from our store?
No,
No?
sure they will.
We don't think so?
Let me make my comments.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Councilor Vega, you done?
Are you through,
Okay.
Baker?
Councilor Humdahl.
No, I was real pleased that the other night when we had the meeting, there was a good combination of all kinds of people. The one thing that could keep this going, because it has brought it forward, there's no reason why we can't have an update every 30 days before council. That goes back to what you just got to, how you're going to keep it going, what's going on. If we start out maybe every 30 days, I mean, whatever it works out, that if the numbers keep going down, at least we know it's working. And I think what we have here before us that gives us that without the $1,000 bill. But there's your comments are right on target, and that's what I was real pleased about the other night. There was some people, all kinds of issues, but they all had the one thing, is kind of clean up that mess that's out there and they're scattered all over, and get the business themselves involved. And that's what I think we'll find out what's going to go on.
Right.
That's where
right.
I look at it, is that we can do it that way. And if it's every 30 days or every 60 days or whatever, shows that it's being done.
Do we want to spend time every 30 days talking about shopping carts over and over?
Probably not, probably. Okay,
Okay.
thank
All
you.
right. I appreciate it, guys.
Okay, next. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to the council. Councilmember Mosby.
I've got a suggestion maybe to put a little teeth in this, and because what we have written here is not going to really stop the carts from being taken. And they're still going to be in the street for a number of days until the cart retrieval guy picks it up. I did talk with the city attorney about this. And what it is, if you go out and you cite the people, like you're talking 10, 15, 20 people, but you make it a fix-it ticket. So they go out there, they have their $80 or $100 ticket that they're sitting on. If they go out and get a cart, a wagon, a wheelbarrow, and put their name on it and say, here's my cart now, and they go over and they get their ticket signed off. Now they have the fix-it ticket signed off. Now you've solved one of the big problems. The big problem is people are showing up, they don't have a cart, so they take it. But you have an opportunity to turn this into something with a little bit of teeth, and you make it a fix-it ticket. That if you just find people $100 and you didn't have a way of fixing it, they continually could do it over and over again. Plus the word would get out and say, hey, I'm going to go get the cart proactively and not reactively. And let me just go get my little granny card, whatever. I think Aaron was saying in his story, he has them for $20, I think he's saying. Several other stores have them as well. But bring them forward and let people realize there's a solution to this, so we don't just keep beating around the bush with this.
Okay, Councilmember Starbuck.
Well, not much has come up with the public meeting or the second reading on this. I really haven't changed my mind about it. I'm going to call it selective enforcement. The state has a law. It's very well laid out. It's in the Business and Professions Code. It puts nothing on the business. It puts everything on the criminal. I go to a grocery outlet, I take a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, and a bag of candy. Aaron's going to see me locked up. But I can take a $100 cart and make off with it. It's not right. Digging in trash is illegal, but everybody's trash is dug in. So again, I'm going to say it's a selective enforcement here. One of the things I did, I see a lot of shopping carts, but I always wondered, why don't I ever see the washing carts? Typically, if you're going to steal a shopping cart to carry your groceries, you would steal a washing cart to carry your laundry. It's funny how everybody that does laundry in a laundromat has a car or a way to get their laundry to and from, but shopping carts are so easy. I just think that enforce it, put it on, and it will cure itself. You know, to go ahead and add another ordinance on and burden the grocery people, the 46 people we got in contact with, is once again us wasting a lot of our time.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, would anyone care to make a motion? Okay, Councilmember Mosby.
Well, I don't know if anybody else wanted to discuss what I said, but
I think it's a good idea.
the city attorney had something drafted up, and maybe he could read it.
I think it's a good idea.
Based on the conversation I had with Councilmember Mosby, I took the opportunity to draft revised page 4 and 5. I think that's enough to make it all around. And I also made copies for the public. Not,
No, it's 4, this is 4 and 5. You've got 2 there.
so if you take a moment to look at page, what I handed out, it takes section 832080 and makes it 2 sections, 2 subsections. One stays as it used to say, and then the second one is to cover if someone has bought their own shopping cart and has their name on it, if someone uses it and shouldn't be using it, that also would be a violation. And then the fix-it ticket, as Councilmember Mosby described, is in the penalty section of 832-090. And what it says is someone can be issued an administrative citation, which the city already has the authority to issue, without any warning, and the fine for the administrative citation would be $100 unless the person shows proof that they've purchased a cart and they put their name on the cart, and then that ticket could then be canceled.
Okay. Councilmember Mosby, I like it. Now, the only issue we have, Captain sitting over there hiding his face, we're putting some extra work on our police department, which we're already 7 officers down right now? 7 officers down right now, so. But it does put a little bit of teeth in the ordinance.
And that could be, the administrative citation could be issued by a police officer or the code enforcement officer.
Oh, good, okay, that's great. Okay, so to include this, Councilmember Mosby makes a motion to include that. Yeah, I know, but we want to include
Maybe
it.
we could get public comment before we proceed, maybe?
Sure.
Hi again. Aaron Crocker, Grocery Outlet. I did just want to jump in real quick because this is updated and new. I'm assuming there's additional public comment anyway. I would like time to read over this and give my actual public comment without trying to rush through this and give a quick public comment before we decide to reintroduce it completely. I don't know if there's a way to motion to hold this off until the next time to reintroduce it so I can give this a thorough reading.
There is.
Okay.
However, you're going to have another opportunity because this is the first reading. So if we include this, at the second reading, you'll have an opportunity to address it at that point.
But that would be the final one, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I would like some additional
If I could, not necessarily, I mean.
Well, I suppose, though it requires at least 2, right?
Yeah.
At this point, so if we hold off till the first reading till the next time, so I have time to look at this, that's just my request. Thank you.
Councilmember Mosby, I'm going to let it up to you. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Whatever you choose.
I've talked with a number of people about this, and they seem pretty solid with this. It has an opportunity. You don't really penalize the people. It's a potential to cure the problem, and I think we could go forward with the first at this time. And
when it comes back to you for a second reading, if the public makes comments that you want to make changes to, you can make changes, and we'll have another introduction.
Sure. So, Councilmember Mosby, was that your motion? No, Councilmember Vega.
I'd like to give them the extra time to take a look at it. We during the public comment period, we didn't get a lot of principals that showed up. We had people that were concerned about the cart problem, but I think the reason for that forum was to give the business owners another opportunity, and I think we only had about 3 people, maybe 4 people show up, so my motion. Well, that's just my feeling, okay? You have a business owner who's requested a little bit more time, and I think we owe him that respect.
Okay, I will second Councilmember Mosby's motion. Any other discussion?
Let me revise that if I could, and maybe the second on that. We go ahead and take the first reading at the next meeting and put this in. I know we just keep delay, but.
So you're withdrawing your motion?
Withdraw my motion, and
Okay, then my second is automatically withdrawn, so we're gonna,
Just, if I can make a motion, we put this in and have the first reading at the next meeting.
okay.
That'd be my motion.
We need consensus on the council to do that. Microphone.
I'll go along with that.
I need one more.
Absolutely.
Okay. Whew, this was almost as bad as putting some youth commissioners in there. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Can everyone take your seat? Okay, we need everyone to take their seats. Okay, we're going to go on to council requests. This is item number 8, use and arrangements of council chambers. Council Member Vega.
Yes, sir. After speaking with many citizens and listening to public comment, I thought that since everyone is bringing up the concern over transparency and public comment and whether or not they're treated with respect, I thought we should go over this and get some people up here that actually do have a feeling for this. There's different concepts on how a council is run throughout the county, if not farther, and we have a different way of addressing this if need be. I think it all began with the fact that after reading over and over again the council handbook, that for public comment, that the council has the ultimate choice on the arrangement of the seating, where the microphone is, and who may not maybe be on the dais. So I thought that we should actually have a conversation over this.
Okay, good. Mr. Wymannel, you want to address the staff report then?
Well, basically, the staff report that was prepared tried to capture Mr. Vega's request. He does accurately point out that the council handbook enables council to be able to decide these matters, big and small, about the configuration and arrangement of the council chamber and how that is. From how the dais is arranged and configured, and who sits up here, and where the people that do sit, where they sit, where you'd like to have staff seated, where you'd like to have the media, where you'd like to have the public. So there's general arrangements and any number of other things that, big and small, that might be done with the room. Also is this other issue particularly about the location of the lectern or the podium, as we've been describing it. We tried to differentiate in the report the technical difference between the two, but we'll call it podium for the sake of everybody's familiarity with that term. Certainly when it was moved recently, a few months ago, the reason was, and some people have given their thoughts as to why it was moved, those were not accurate reports of what their beliefs were. But the reason it was moved is because certainly I recognize, others recognize, that given the configuration of its location and its angle, several speakers were having a difficult time in directing their comments to the city council. And the purpose of someone speaking there is to direct their comments to the city council. Some have even criticized the movement as saying it makes it difficult for them to address others. And exactly, that was the point, is to make sure that we had it to where it was addressing the city council. And, but it is within your prerogative to locate that anywhere you'd like, in any configuration or direction that you'd like, returning it back to where it was, keeping it where it is, or any other possibilities. So basically, I wanted to lay out that you have any number of choices to make about the room, the things I've mentioned, and many other things. If you wanted to get into that level of detail, that certainly is available to you to do so.
Thank you. Councilman Vega.
I have a couple of drawings that I kind of just mocked up real quick. After doing a little homework, looking at the other dioceses and the other council meetings within the county, which is Santa Maria especially, I had a couple of other concepts. I just wanted us to at least take a look at it and discuss these, okay, if we could. Okay. Thank you, sir. There's plenty of copies here, so if you wouldn't mind passing those over and just take a look, and then we can discuss.
Okay, so Councilmember Vega, for those that don't have a, why don't you sort of describe to the audience and those here and at home, describe to them your layout you have here.
So basically, the layout that I've kind of just hand sketched here showed that the dais would be facilitated. And again, we're looking for public comment to see what other people are feeling about this, which shows the city clerk up on the dais and the elected officials. I have a table out front that shows, which is similar to Santa Maria's setup, which shows staff right in front, which would be Patrick, Teresa, city attorney, and Brad Wilkie. The police and fire would be in their same areas. That's what the layout is in this sketch here for any of you that get to see this sketch.
Okay. Councilmember Humdahl.
The sketch looks similar to the Board of Supervisors room in Santa Barbara and also in Santa Maria, and it works out real well. That you get it there, you have everybody there. So I think the way it's laid out, that it shows, it's like you've been down to Santa Barbara.
With the exception of the podium. The Board of Supervisors is in the center, so. Councilmember Mosby.
Santa Maria has the podium on the, kind of the side. Santa Barbara is centered for the Board of Supervisors.
So, yes, that's what I said, yeah. Okay. Okay, Councilmember Vega, you have anything else?
And I guess what we're looking for from the public, and I've already spoken to quite a few people. And I'd like to see their comment to see if they feel that a setup like this would allow them to speak to their elected officials in a manner that makes them feel better heard. I think that's what the point is, transparency, and actually feeling like you're represented. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. My only comment, I'll go along with whatever the council decides. Comments I had heard, it was the podium. It was preferred over on the side. However, as Patrick Weimiller indicated, the idea was, because I've been called out for interrupting speakers, and I have interrupted speakers when they're not addressing the council. The whole purpose is addressing the council. So this does address that. It does address that they're addressing the council, not the audience. So the podium being there does address that, and I would not have to remind people to address the council. The other comment I heard about having the 9 of us up here is it's intimidating to have 9 people. Well, there are many councils that have 7 and 9 council members. The Supreme Court has, 9, well now 8 right now, Supreme Court justices. So it's not that this is unusual having 9 people up here. But anyway, if it's intimidating to have 9 people as opposed to 5, if they think that'll make a difference, if this is what we choose to do, that's fine. I am a little concerned about moving the podium back to the right. I believe it is still going to cause the audience to address, or the speaker to address the audience instead of addressing us. And if people want to object to me making a correction during that, so be it. Okay, so.
Yeah, I was going to say that I meant the podium to come back into the middle, just like it is. It's not off to the left-hand side as you look at it. So I'd rather, just like you have it at the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. Councilmember Vega.
Yeah, my vision of this is whenever there's a presentation by any city staff, they come over here and they turn the microphone backwards to face the public. If the gist is for us to face the council, then we're not being consistent. So, and in many cases, when we do a presentation or we do whatever it is, proclamation or whatever, everyone else is looking at the backside and they are facing the public. So there's some inconsistencies on which way we're going to face depending on what kind of presentation we're going to put out.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to say? Okay, we'll open up to the public.
Good evening, Jane Bear. I I like the plan. It's what I've seen at other councils in the county. The one thing that I liked at Carpinteria that is not reflected in Councilmember Vega's plan is that at Carpinteria there was an extra seat up front so that the staff member who was doing a report could sit with the city manager or the city attorney, and I called it the hot seat. But by being there until the conclusion of the conversation, they didn't have to stand up here and wonder whether or not you had a question for them. They were there in the hot seat, and you knew where they were, and you could ask a question if you wanted. And it just seemed like a sensible way to do it. And in Carpinteria, how they did it is the staff, when they weren't in the hot seat, and this is, you know, the staff members that don't necessarily make a report at every meeting, but they were sitting in the gallery, and they would just come in, sit in the hot seat, and then I thought that was a good way to do it. So I don't know if there's a way to incorporate that as well. But as far as the podium is concerned, I think the concern that we, the public, want to speak to other members of the public is it shouldn't be that important. We have our 3 minutes, and if I want to say, hey, I don't see why that would bother you that much. And I would just second what Councilmember Vega would say, that most people who get up here that are related to the city in any way, they say, good evening, council members, honorable mayor, staff members, public watching at home. So they are actually saying that they are speaking to the public as well. So for a staff member to come up here and give a report with their back to the public that they are say that they are addressing, as well as you, right? That's why we show up to these meetings, so we can see what the staff has to say as well. So I think, I don't think it's that important if someone wants to turn their head and say, can you believe they're doing this? I would be way more concerned about people calling, council members dummies, or, that is a problem with decorum. But, I just don't think it's a problem. So, thank you, Councilmember Vega.
Anyone else?
I just have a quick comment, and no disrespect, please, Stacy. But yesterday or the day before, I came to the city clerk's office, and I wanted to, I was requesting to view the city council meeting notes, and told that I couldn't see them. In respect to transparency in government, and why shouldn't I, as a Lompoc resident, be allowed to view notes in the minutes? I just don't understand why that would be opposed by anyone. Thank you.
Okay, I think if you have access to a computer, which I know you do, yes, all council meetings are online. All you have to do is go to the city council, click that date, and you can review the entire taping. Is that what you were looking for?
I wasn't so much looking for, I was looking for a particular date, and that was all I was really looking for.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure of exactly the month or the meeting, and that's all I wanted, was one little piece of information. She gave me the information, I'm very grateful, but I just felt that why shouldn't I be privy to it, and not everybody has a computer.
Sure, I agree, okay.
Good, thank you.
Okay, next.
Nick Gonzalez, Lompoc resident. I think Mayor Lingle and Mr. Weimiller, I think you summarized it when you said address the council. Personally, as a resident, I think that when we are here, we're to address you. It's great to get the feedback, and I know there's necessary feedback, but frankly, I kind of like this. Secondly, with the podium on to the left, it affords somebody the ability to see all of you at the same time and not have to kind of look down at your notes. If you brought in notes, look back. I've always taught to speak to somebody and look them in their eye. Well, when I'm over there, I can see all of you right in the eye. I can see who's making gestures, who's nodding, who's not. If I'm kind of focusing on Mr. Pannoni here for a second, then I got to switch back to Mrs. Gallivan over here, then I got to look at back Mr. Mingle. You miss some of the cues that I think that are important when you're communicating face to face. So I'd encourage you to move the podium back, affording the person who's speaking to see all of you simultaneously at the same time. Secondly, I think when we come to address the council, we come to address the council, and there will be moments in which other departmental heads, legal, administrative, have to address the public on items, and at that point, they can do so similar to what the public does. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ian Bear, Lompoc resident, mayor, members of the council, city manager, assistant city manager, city clerk, city attorney. Democracy is this amazing thing that it has taken 15 or so centuries of civilization to come up with. We invest in a democracy certain individuals with a sacred trust by electing them to an office. And so with all due respect, Mayor Lingle, it is not the number of individuals that we are speaking to. It is that we are speaking to and only to those people with whom we invested that sacred trust to maintain the tenets of our democracy. To have members who are employed as city staff amongst those who share that sacred public trust, I think muddies the tenets of democracy. With all due respect, why are we stopping at the city manager and the assistant city manager? Why not have all 400 plus people who are appointed, who are employed by the city here in this room with whom we can speak to? What is the cutoff? What is the logic of the cutoff at city manager and assistant city manager? It seems rather arbitrary based solely on the number of chairs there happen to be up there. We can never protect democracy enough. We can never hold this sacred trust in high enough esteem. I say let us do anything that physically supports the symbolism of democracy in the most sacred terms we possibly can. Whatever physical arrangement of a room supports that sacred trust is the one we owe to the people, is the one we owe to the people who have suffered and died for the sake of democracy in this, the greatest democracy that humanity has ever created. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one rise, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to the council. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, you know, you're running for election right now, and or your voice has been heard by me and many others about the job that we're trying to do based on transparency, and I think we're all striving to do exactly that. So I'm going to make a motion that proposes that we do make the changes that are noted here, and then so people can address the elected officials as that they have voted for and expect to be self-represented, okay, as far as toward their needs. And have staff in the bottom, just like, and thank you, Councilman Holmdahl, for stating that the Board of Supervisors does part. I've done a little bit of homework here on this to see how the other arrangements are. The podium, I believe, whether it stays in the center or the side, I do believe that it's better on the side over there, because if city staff was sitting down here, depending on how you guys feel about it, I think everybody would be able to, they would be better seen. And those are just the few minor changes that I'd like to make a proposal for. So that's my motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Could I ask a question first on this?
Of course.
The question would be is do we know if there's a cost factor on on doing as drawn. I think your motion is as drawn. Is that, Councilmember Vega?
Yes, you know, the cost factor is another question. I see that we have a camera up here in the center here that's affixed toward the podium. Not sure what it would take to change the camera situation. Being that we have all brand-new cameras here, I'm sure that something can be accommodated.
Mr. Manager?
I think the costs that we're talking about are pretty minimal here, including with we can realign the camera to pick up the speaker wherever, you know, the public speaker is. And setting up, for instance, having staff down here with tables and chairs. We'll roll out a few more microphones, but again, I don't think it's, there's not an initial out-of-pocket cost for that. And I think it's a pretty minimal cost. At one point, there was some concern about whether or not we were even leaving the dais as it was. And if we were getting into a reconfiguration, then yes, at that point, I think we're talking some project dollars. But for what's being proposed here, I think the costs are minimal.
I would give Councilmember Vega a second on that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, my discussion still is moving the podium to the side. One of the biggest concerns we've had over the years is that somebody who's over there talks to the audience and doesn't talk to the council. The council makes the decision. You need to give them all the information you can. You aren't supposed to be talking to the audience. And that's one of my concerns. If we put it over there, we keep taking that podium over there and keep turning it to the right because everybody wants to turn it back to, we want to turn it, well, anyway. Who's ever speaking wants to talk to the audience, doesn't want to talk to council at times. So that's my concern of having it over to the far left where you have it in this, for sure.
If I could ask a question of Councilman Holmdahl, I appreciate your support on this with the county supervisors. You have a lot of experience there, but if it was such a big concern for you through the years, maybe you have voiced it or maybe you haven't voiced your opinion on the location of it. So it sounds like it's been there for a long time over at the side. I would just like a little input there, whether that was there at all.
I've been here, yes, for a while, but people get over there and there's comments of that person who's over there talking to the audience and not to me. And that's the concern I have, is that could happen.
No, I got you, sir, but I just was wondering, the location's been there for a long time, so obviously that bothered you for a long time. Okay.
Okay, Councilmember Mosby.
Maybe if it's on the side, if we turn the podium a little more directed, because sometimes sometimes you come in here and it's actually, turning more towards the media.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I'm trying to address Councilman Holmdahl's, because I just wanted to know
and I
from
can
his
see,
experience.
in this case, with a table here and the podium there, you start stretching it out, we don't have as deep of a room as they do at the supervisors, so they have that ability to stretch backwards. And I think if we put a table there and that back, because you're going to have a little distance, I think you would lose a couple rows of seats. So you might try it over here and see if we stay focused on the angle there and keep it directed. Maybe it would work.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Anything else? Let's vote. That passes 5-0. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Vega. Okay, and I just want to remind the audience, it's been brought to our attention that in the past, some of you have seen us make faces or snicker. When Councilmember Vega was just speaking, there were some snickers from the audience, and I think it's important that you are as respectful while a council member is speaking as you expect us to be when we're speaking. So, try to control that as well. Okay, item number 10, to discuss and take action on formation of an ad hoc committee. This again was Councilmember Vega. Would you like to address that?
It was taken from public comment that there was a request to have this at least looked at to see if it's possible to have a 1 or 2 person ad hoc committee with a few of the members of the public to have open discussions and see if there's any needs that haven't been addressed through the years that are just kind of blown off. I think one of the issues that could be discussed by having an ad hoc committee would be respect. You know, there's things that we haven't addressed here. You know, there's people that come up and they're disrespectful. I don't believe that the council has been so disrespectful that these people are allowed to speak at length. You know, there's times where there's people that have come up here and started yelling, raising their voice. I mean, is that maybe the city attorney? Maybe we can address it at another time, but an ad hoc committee would kind of, we would all learn from this on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Some of the people that are not feeling that they're being heard, I think one of the changes on the dais and the podium, is really important. It's a good step in the direction that we do want to hear them. We know that we're representatives of the citizens of Lompoc, and we want to do a good job. It's very difficult to make everyone happy, as you know. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up and see what the rest of the council has to say about this.
Okay. I think as far as addressing respect, I think you were addressing respect towards us with people. Well, there was an example tonight, and I think the way it was handled is, I believe, the way it should be handled. We asked a gentleman to sit down. He had received actually 2 additional minutes. I had asked the question of the police captain, and he was interfering with the response I was getting there. So I think we have been able to address disrespect towards us. There's been accusations that we have been disrespectful to the public. I don't believe we have, but if we have, or even if there's a perception that we have, you're right, it is an issue. My concern with forming another ad hoc committee, we've seen the diagram that the city manager has put up. No other city that we can recall has as many commissions and ad hoc committees as we do. So it's going to be adding another layer of democracy that we have. Do we really need it? I think I appreciate, I think it was Councilmember Starbuck that made the motion to have the transparency meeting. I think that was a good meeting for the public, a good meeting for us. I think the public learned from it. I think we learned from it. But do we need to have another layer with an ad hoc committee? My thought is no, unless it becomes an issue again where people think that there is no transparency, which I've stated publicly, I believe there is transparency in this city. If there's perception it isn't, then we're having a problem. We've addressed it with the meeting, and we should continue to address it. But do we need to form another layer of ad hoc committee? I don't believe so. Councilmember Humdahl.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Lingle, is that we're already on so many commissions now, and people, even if you have a job or you're semi-retired, you run out of time to do things. And I think that just one more meeting, one more committee meeting, one more thing, just puts that much layer of on you. I think we can set it up, and if we are having problems, we can set up another meeting like we did on the other one. But having a normal, what you're talking about is two council members plus a group. That means also staff is going to be in there, so that brings another person in from staff that we're having to pay for and taking our own time. So that's my concern. I think we're doing it fine the way it is.
Councilor Fagan.
Yeah, and I understand. I was just thinking more of at least open discussion on a temporary basis as needed. There may be concerns that maybe the public can address, and when they feel the need, and we can be open to forming something on a temporary basis as far as to address that.
Okay. Councilmember Mosby.
In April and in June, I had some quick meetings for kind of a transparency town hall meeting, and I had probably 20, 25 people come to each of them. And I think something that could have made it better is if I had brought another council member in as well, to have 2 people there to answer questions. And maybe not having this level of formality that's involved in it, but maybe we try to do a little better amongst ourselves. I know that, you know, the mayor has his coffee with Bob once a month, and that's a level of transparency that he does there. And maybe in that meeting, maybe you could invite a council member to come in with your meetings, you know, periodically, so you can double up on that, and maybe some of us could do that as well. Maybe we can start off at that level, and again, I'm saying maybe a few times here, but we could do that at that level as well. Maybe, again, two of us could get together and do that, and with the outreach. It took me a while before I felt comfortable to get to that level, to be able to answer some of the questions. But I think it would be a good way to go, maybe a good route to do it without the high level of formality. We do have a lot of the transparency level with how many committees and commissions we have. I mean, we have a lot of them. And that is one of the front layers of transparency. And I'll try to do better as well, bring in some of my committees and commissioners and bring in involved on that with more outreach. And maybe the mayor as well can bring in at his coffees. I don't know how often you bring commissioners in, but it can help in that level of transparency and embrace it that way.
Thank you. I have done it in the past, but not on a regular basis, but it's a good idea. Councilmember Starbuck.
Just a couple of comments here. I think that, we're going to go ahead and address these issues. They are happening. We've agreed on reconfiguring the room to make it more accessible to the public to speak. A comfort level, I understand, for them. There was a suggestion that I think that we may as a council want to take seriously, and it was basically like your Coffees with Bob or the old Tell It to Dirks, where we do have a council office hours, maybe on an off Tuesday, where two of us would be in the chamber. And, we would publish it. We have a public information officer, et cetera. Two of us sitting here and just whoever walks in the door. I think it would be a good start. It would, be a kind of an overall solution.
I have no problem with that.
So a quarterly Tell It to Council and bring some of your commissioners, huh?
Call it what we may,
That would probably be a good initiation.
I have a question, if I could.
Councilmember Vega.
Regarding this ad hoc committee and the learning curve here also, as we also communicate with the public what's acceptable and what's not, maybe Mr. Pannoni can advise me or advise us on how to address a couple of the issues that we did have before, as far as respect, etiquette. People have the right to call us names for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and we have no recourse to cut them off, okay? If somebody gets disrespectful, what do we do in those cases? Okay, that's one of the issues that I'd like us to have that discussion about. Because it seems like there are people that do come in here and they have a heightened level of disrespect sometimes. They raise their voice. Sometimes we wonder.
If someone starts to make comments that causes the meeting to be disrupted, then the mayor can, as the chair of the meeting, can ask the person to stop doing that. And if they don't stop doing that, he could ask the person to leave or have the person escorted out of the room. But the level that the courts have placed on what disruption is pretty high because of the reasons that we want to protect democracy and people's ability to speak. So calling people vindictive names could be considered disruption, but being negative in what they're saying about something the city did isn't necessarily going to be disruption. So it's sort of one of those, if it happens, we'll know it.
I got you. It's just how many frogs do you swallow, I guess is what I'm asking, okay? And I might as well be direct about it because it's kind of the way I do my business. And I think this is what people expect. If someone's up here, Joe, and maybe under this discussion of transparency and talking about an ad hoc committee, you let me know if I'm way off, okay? If somebody comes up here with a public comment for 3 minutes and they ask you to respond as a council, and shouldn't their time keep running? If we chose to address any of their concerns, I mean, is that something, and this is all under this, guys, that's one of the reasons I was asking about this, part of the learning curve with the public and ourselves is and I'm asking you if I'm out of bounds or how do we get this thing discussed?
So you're asking if someone in the public asks a question and the
council
starts to address that question, the 3-minute clock whether or not the 3-minute clock should keep running or not? Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, if the person having that public speaking, it's their 3 minutes and they've requested an answer, okay? From a certain person up here on the dais, did their clock stop while we decide to answer?
My experience has been that the clock hasn't stopped. I can recall sometimes when the the speaker has asked for a little more time because
I know.
Answers, but that's certainly at the discretion of the council and at the mayor who conducts the meeting.
Thank you.
And an example is tonight when Mr. Crocker was speaking, I asked him questions, and that's why he was allowed more time, because we were asking him questions. Councilmember Starbuck and I were asking, so that's why that time was extended. But, okay. Anything else on this before we go to public comment? Okay, let's go to public comment.
So I feel like I had a hand in getting us to this point. And I feel that I have to defend my motivations just a little bit. Because in a recent Santa Maria Sun article, I was attacked for wanting to run the city. And I really don't want to run the city. I don't want to run the city so much, I can't even tell you. But what I did in the August 9th meeting is I gave you all a 5-page document. And this was used as evidence that I wanted to run the city. But if you read this document, it's not about running the city or making any decisions at all. It's only about public participation. It's about getting the public involved and getting the public to know what's going on. And I have about 10 copies on the back chair back there, and if anyone is doubting me and thinking that I want to run the city, please pick up a copy of this 5-page document, because this is about putting stuff on the website. It's about not letting the city staff spend money unless you all know about it. This is more about you, 5, knowing what's going on, because you're the ones I have to trust. I elected you. So this is about you running the city. You 5. It's not about me running the city. The other thing I was accused of is that I'm bringing this up because I'm the campaign manager of a guy that's running for mayor right now. I want to clear that up right now. September 16th, it was an off election year. That's when I got involved. You had a closed session meeting that was not allowed. And that had nothing to do with the previous mayor or the current mayor. It had to do, and I have repeated myself up here, with me wanting you guys to run the city right. There are a lot of things in this document, and right now you guys have raised a lot of issues. You need an ad hoc committee. If you have too many meetings, don't participate in it. But for those of you who are interested in actually increasing the transparency and increasing public participation, please have a temporary committee get together and consider these things. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi again, Aaron Crocker. I was at the transparency meeting that we had the last time, and I really enjoyed it. The setting and the discussion that was had, and it was, for the most part, civil, and a lot of great discussion happened. I don't know exactly what's involved with an ad hoc committee or how many meetings or what that does as far as layers in the city and things, but I do love the idea of a quarterly transparency meeting. I think waiting till there's a problem again is just being reactive and not proactive. And I think if somebody's already here, as was mentioned, and it's just a quarterly thing and it's put out there to the public, this is the quarterly transparency meeting, people can bring any issues. If there's other questions that need answering, it can happen at that time. If there's already people here, it just kind of makes sense. And I did enjoy the last one, and I would attend future ones too. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to close public comment. Councilmember Mosby, I also like your idea of quarterly, where two of us can get together, and if you'd like to make that motion, I'd certainly agree to that, and we could either have two of us volunteer on a regular basis, or we could have city staff, as we do with the table out at the Friday night market. They could arrange a schedule, and if we can't make one week, we'd ask someone else to fill in for us. And we just have to reserve City Hall or council chambers at the time or some other space. But I agree. I think that's a good step in the right direction. So, Councilmember Vega, I'm sorry.
Well, I'd be willing to do that, but I think this is more
Sure,
Councilmember
That's
Vegas.
okay. You go first.
Councilmember Mosby.
All right, well, I make the motion as stated.
Okay. So the motion is to
Quarterly transparency meetings with two council members. We could do it on the same type of random assembly that you do, like you did came up with for the Old Town Market meeting.
So staff would assign two council members on a rotating basis, and if one of us have a problem, or if two of us have a problem, we ask another council member to fill in for us.
I think it would be also advisable that we put down in that motion that we request our commissioners who can't attend to come and attend. I think that would help out.
Sure, okay. Request, not demand.
No, right.
Yeah. Councilman, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I'm not sure what you mean by our commissioners, but each of you would invite the ones that you appoint here? We can't do
That's
that.
what I was thinking.
We can't do that
Oh.
because then we're going to have a quorum of the commissions.
Okay, so
We would
nix
have
nix
two,
that.
wouldn't
Or if you mean of, so I'm not sure what you meant.
Like that would be the ones I appointed, the ones, say, Dirk and I were having, the ones Dirk appointed. So there'd be no more than two from each level, so it wouldn't be all, so we wouldn't have the three, we'd only have two.
The thing you all need to be cautious about is whatever you discuss that day, you won't be able to discuss with another council person unless you put it on an agenda, and those commissioners won't be able to discuss with any other commissioner unless you put it on an agenda. So it's a little bit of a slippery slope, so I just want to give that caution.
Thank you.
Is that two?
No? Do you have that, City Clerk?
Wow.
And the clerk was just saying, and some of the commissioners aren't individually appointed, so I'm not sure how you'd want to
Well,
handle
I'm
that.
thinking the ones that are more like the individually, like the appointed. Naturally, the others can show up with themselves, but I'm talking about the direct appointments that we have. So we have, what, 6 that we directly appoint, 6 or 7? That's what I was getting at, because I think that would help some interconnection to the other meetings.
And it would not necessarily, they may or may not show up, but the two of us would always be there. Councilman Vega.
I'm sorry, if I may.
It's okay, John.
Of course.
And if a quorum of any commission shows up, you'll ride herd and kick some of them out.
Yes, yes.
That's happened before.
Councilman Mosby, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Vega.
I'll go ahead and second his motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for I guess we'll call it an ad hoc committee of 2 council members on transparency to meet on a quarterly basis on a rotating,
Could I just have some clarification on staff's role and the clerk's role? First of all, in agendizing such a meeting, it's just going to be that general topic of openness and transparency and participation in government.
yes.
Is that correct?
Does it even need to be agendized? It's not, we don't have a quorum of any council members, or can we just have the Lompoc record, put it out there, put it on our website, post it? Do we even need to formally agendize this?
You don't need to legally agendize it. but as the staff report says, it seems
Counterintuitive.
odd to me that you'd have a transparency
Okay.
meeting that you wouldn't publicize as if it was a Brown Act
Good
meeting.
point, good point. Okay, so we will go ahead and have it agendized. So-
Okay, so that was question one.
Yeah.
So we know, so it sounds like we make a standard announcement of the meeting. Secondly is, what is the expectation of participation from staff? Am I adequate, or, well, first, do you want me there? And if I'm there, is it adequate that it's just me?
I don't think there, I'm
I
sorry.
feel yourself or the assistant would definitely be adequate.
Okay, thank you.
But is it mandatory, or is it just the council members?
I think it would be a very good idea to have one of them there, yes. I think it would,
Okay. And time-wise?
And the clerk would like to, are you anticipating minutes of these meetings?
Because we'd need a clerk if we are doing minutes.
You know, I'll tell you what, in my opinion, like, after my coffee with Bob's, I read anything I need, I write it down, I send an email to city manager. If there's an issue that needs to be brought up, he addresses it. So I think the council members at that meeting, issues brought up, we could, if there's something that needs to be addressed, most of it, I think, is going to be answered at the meeting. If there's something that we need to bring back for staff action, I think, in my opinion, we just send an email to the city manager if we need something done.
Yep.
So I don't believe we need the minutes.
I agree, Bob, I agree.
Okay.
Last time that Patrick had that open meeting for the shopping carts, it was just himself, and he passed on the information to us, and I think that was fine for that.
Okay, we have a motion and time-wise, what's best for the public? I mean, middle of the afternoon, evenings? Okay, Councilmember Mosby, do you have a preference in time? If not, I have one.
fire away for a time.
I believe evenings are the best, and we could actually, 1 month, we could have it, maybe a luncheon, come brown bag it, so people that are working in the evenings, we could have 1 month, alternating months, if that's what you think would be best. So we make sure that we make it available to everyone. Otherwise, evenings, I believe, are the best. I believe most people are available.
Maybe the city clerk could come back with a date. I think, was it like 4th Thursdays or something, or one of the most open days of the month, isn't it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because you want to book it
times-
here,
dates-
obviously, if we're doing it here, you
Dates and
want to
times
book
to be
it.
decided.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Let's vote. Okay, that passes 5-0. Okay, Madam Clerk, any written communication?
Nothing.
Okay, oral communication, this is your last opportunity to speak to us for up to 2 minutes.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. I will continue to push that you exercise your power on my behalf. And one of the ways that I would like you to do that is when you make a council request, that you request and collaborate with the staff while you're actually here to figure out when that council request should come back. And if it's slow for some reason and the staff can tell you about that, then that should be something that you all agree on. But this is something that I've heard several of the council members refer to, is that it just takes months to get things back. We don't know where they are. We don't know who brought them up. We don't know who were the 1, 2, 3. So I think this is something I would continue to push. And I would also say that if we can have a monthly update on the motorsports park and shopping carts, then there are other things that you guys should probably be keeping track of. For example, the Bailey Street corridor. I haven't heard a thing about that since you all made the decision to expedite the process of annexation. What's happening? Do you all know? And that's a rhetorical question, but that's something that you need to stay on top of, and the public wants to know about. It's important to a lot of us. Ken Adam Park, the secret project that they are spending staff time on, that they're sending people off on travel to learn about stuff that we don't know about. You all need to bring that stuff to council. It's not right. You are the representatives of the public wants to know. So please make some council requests and put some dates on, and let's find out about what's going on with some of this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening again. John Lynn on behalf of the Parks Foundation. We weren't able to comment on the staff report this evening because, frankly, we didn't see it till we got to this meeting. I sent an email to the city administrator earlier in the day, but I know they're very busy. It's very difficult for us to bring good information to you when we don't know what we're going to be dealing with. And there was one comment in there, and I don't really know how to go forward with this, but I just wanted to share our frustration with you. You have an airport master plan that the city administrator mentioned that has parachute landing area discussed, except that was never approved by the council. And it couldn't be approved by the council because the environmental work wasn't done. So then the question has always been, and we've gone back and forth on this, which airport master plan applies, the 1989 version about yay thick or the 2011 version about yay thick? And that's an issue we've struggled with on various subjects with regard to the airport. So we have a meeting with the staff tomorrow. I anticipate that we'll make more progress, and I know working together we'll get this issue resolved as we resolved so many other ones along the way. We'll get her done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm going to start by calling you some names. You guys were good tonight. You were good guys. You were good. Well, I usually do that and I get yelled afterwards for talking too loud into the mic. You guys were good guys. I'd like to thank you, first of all. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to make it more welcoming for the public. I speak to many people who will bring up issues and say, hey, can you share this? Because they're horrified to speak in public. They're intimidated to stand up at the podium. So I think anything you can do to make it more welcoming to the public is a great step. So thank you. Next, illegal dumping. I'm going to keep coming here and petitioning you to do something about the illegal dumpers. Since the last time I've been up here, I've had no less than 5 illegal dumps, several on my commercial and several in the apartments. And I like to always come with a solution. I know that a lot of the illegal dumping that's occurring in the apartment areas and even in the residential areas is when you have move-outs. So that maybe you can design a very simple sheet that when somebody comes to the city to turn off their utilities or to transfer their utilities, you give them a small slip, be it in English and in Spanish, because many of the residents are limited in English-speaking ability, that explains that there are fines and penalties if they leave their belongings out in the alley and out in the street. That would take care of that. Commercial, I don't know what to do with. I sometimes work very late, and I'll catch people at 11:30 at night putting the sofas and the TVs and the mattresses in the backs of the buildings all along, and I've asked them politely, and they can be very aggressive. Sometimes they're compliant, sometimes they're not. They just jump it, get in their car, and they leave. So I think it's not very fair to always stick it to the property owner. You can operate your property well, and it's to no fault of your own that people are dumping illegally. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one rise, we're going to close oral communication. Council requests, comments, and meeting reports. Councilor Mosby.
I just wanted to make a comment. I was re-reviewing the lovely budget hearings we had last year, and I saw that we were going to have quarterly, for the first year, comebacks on the budget. And we've touched on it, we hit on some points, but what I wanted to comment on, just in some copies as well for the public, we get this ledger monthly, just about monthly, and I always look at it and stay concerned at it. And I talked with Mr. Wilkie about it quite a bit, and Dean and Melinda. And I know our money that comes in and our money goes out is lumpy, as they call it. So, but I think it's important to see that the numbers that we have out there, and granted, maybe a little tighter review on this. In one of the points I wanted to just quickly comment on was money expended as of 6/30/2016, and granted there's some more tuning that goes on with this, was $32 million. This is the general fund, account number 10 as it's called, was $32,348,000. The money that we received was $30,465,000. Now granted, we have a few items that didn't happen, sales of property, there's a few other things coming through, but I think we need to stay in focus with this because there's almost $2 million more currently diagrammed and identified in this report that we spent than we brought in the general fund. And I think we need to stay on top of what it is, and maybe we could get a report. I know, well, now we're supposed to go into semi-annual budget review, but our agreement and acceptance was to have it quarterly. But maybe we could touch on this and keep an eye on this so that we know what's going on and what's around the corner, because we are having a level of shortfalls. We do have some more money. I have the triple flip money coming in. I saw that in the manager's report. We have another approximately $500,000 coming in there that'll bring us up, and the estimated was only about $100,000 less than what the anticipated was in the budget. But I think it's important for us to take a look at that, and I think council, we all got the copies of this, but I'd copies for the public if they wanted to look at it as well, so we can keep an eye on, and maybe we can get a reporting back of the shortfalls that are coming in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Starbuck.
I have no reports.
Councilmember Vega.
Nothing to report, but I'd like to thank the public for their participation, transparency, and making everyone comfortable so we can make better decisions is imperative, so thank you.
Councilmember Humdahl.
Yeah, a couple of things. One is that I was able to go to the planning workshop, and I thought I was very pleased that walking out with everybody finally agreeing, especially even the wine industry. They were there, and they were very pleased that that's coming down for the food, how we're going to go. I think one of the major things that came out of that one is not just for the ghetto, it's going to be a citywide act where they're taking care of wines and eating and food and such. So, and we walked out there and everybody was on the same page. In each one of the other areas, the flags and all the rest of it. So I was real pleased with that. And like I said, I already talked about the shopping carts. I thought the people who showed up did a real good job. Maybe there could have been more, but still there was enough cross-section of individuals of ideas that we had here tonight. On the 19th of August, the League of California Cities, I had a dinner here in town, and I was sorry to see 3 of our councilmen couldn't make it, but others were able to drive all the way from San Luis to Ventura to come to the meeting, so that was good. The other thing is that what we got going on, and I've been down there checking too, is the environmental document and other documents as it goes toward the space, the racetrack. And there's some issues coming up with no sense in bringing them up until we start talking about it. But there's going to be some interesting issues coming up in opposition to it.
Thank you. Okay. Several things I want to report. Only one that I had to use city money. That was an NCPA meeting, Northern California Power Agency, August 23rd through the 25th in Pluma Sierra, if anyone knows where that is. It's a 10-hour drive to get there. So anyway, the city did pay me. I used my own vehicle. I was paid mileage, and they did pay for my motel lodging. On the 27th, I participated in the opening of the AYSO again this year. A great bunch of kids, all having fun, and I really want to thank the members of the public They went over to our soccer fields that afternoon with a big mound of dirt, and they were filling in the gopher holes so we wouldn't have any twisted ankles. So public, thank you very much. On the 31st, I was over at the Vets Building. Councilwoman Lois Capps was there. She has an annual event, breakfast over there, where she recognizes veterans. Last year was World War II veterans. This year was Vietnam veterans, and there was about a half dozen local Vietnam vets with special interests. I know we have still a lot of local Vietnam vets in here, but these were some vets that have done a lot. Well, they've all done a lot, but they deserve special recognition that they received there through Councilwoman Congresswoman Capps. On the second, if some of you don't know that we have recently started a business visitation program. On the second, we visited Aaron and his wife over at Grocery Outlet. I don't know if they got anything out of it. I know we got a lot out of it. Our assistant city manager, myself, and one of your staff, Jasmine, one of the staff were there. We learned a lot from you, Aaron, and your wife, Alex, so thank you very much. It's an ongoing program we have where we're just going out and visiting the different businesses and learning from them, again, how we can help in business, and it was very informational for us. The last thing I want to do is do a shout out to Cody Blea, one of our employees with the Forestry Department. This past week, him and some staff were out on D Street and spent several days reclaiming some land over in the median that was nothing but weeds. And they spent 2 days cleaning it all up, putting down some gopher wire to keep the vermin out there, and doing some replanting. So thank you, Cody, out there. So, and that is my report. If there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned to the Lompoc City Council meeting on, September 20th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much for attending.